Oh, there we go. Here we go. Check this out. Now let's read this.
We haven't even shipped out yet. It's about on the 3rd, because that's
The Masquerade.
week.
The sound. Should I add words to it to make it more ridiculous?
You can do whatever you'd like to make it ridiculous.
The sound is freaking horrendous. The deafening squeal of the thick metal rods shearing apart drowns out the hammering beat of her heart and her chest from the top of the carny wheel. It takes Celeste and Vox 5 freaking seconds to fall. For a moment, Celeste flails like this, hands pinwheeling around empty air, her mind still trying to save her. Somebody got an echo. But then, falling from that great height, past the swirling magic of her own design, she accepts her fate. In 4 full seconds, every bone in her body will splinter. Her annoyingly overprotective father had been right all along. Gosh, every time. And there's nothing to be done for it. Second 4. She remembers their 16th birthday 2 years ago. It was when Vox had first shoved a gas mask at her and led her up the building's ladder of this carny wheel. Up there, they were free. Vox had taken off his mask and sniffed big lungfuls of air. Do the thing, he'd said. So she had held out her hand and made a little swirl in the air. Then the air had become not air, and her hand under it had become a not hand, and what they had stared at was not a thing, an absence of a thing, at the end of a thing, the last breath of a star collapsing on itself. That was the thing. Okay, he said. My turn. His eyes had certainly been closed, and he raised up his hands. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then Celeste had heard it. Sparrows that had been calling out of sync sang together this little melody, and Vox had hummed along. He sang little lyrics with it just to crack Celeste up. This is the Celeste song. I made up a Celeste song. Everybody sing the Celeste song. Celeste. That was the song. Second 3. This is a long one. You picked a long one. Second 3. Her arms are out, so she's falling, remember? So this is the 3rd second, or the second, whatever. This is one of the seconds of her falling. I'm just setting the scene. Her arms out, stars sliding through her fingers. Celeste recalls how today's masquerade began with such promise. A celebration of their 18th birthdays, 'cause they twins, yo. At nightfall, the smog layer blinked with the Tazantines, each bedazzled in tiny glowing chunks of crystal or hastily painted glow runes on their arms and faces. The ravers yelled, the sound muted by their masks. Carnies had taken the job no one had offered, using their sleight of hand magics to open up the security fences, charging admission, snaking through the crowd, selling bits of roasted meat and cheese and drinks spiked with who knows what. Probably alcohol. Let's just not even pretend here. Alcohol. Their pickpocket kids cleaned up. High above them, Celeste and Vox had perched atop the carny wheel, their favorite escape, a gathering place for any and all of the Tazan youths that had a copper to spend and a burning need to celebrate being young, aka partying it up, yo! Dude, they just want to party. I get it. Celeste's hands had radiated with heat. Vox had nodded to the beat coming from inside of her and inside of him and inside everyone on the ground, so basically inside everybody. Their heartbeats pounded to Vox's tempo. Then Celeste had held out her palms and just let loose. The sky had swirled. Hot lights fell, then burst into spirals. This is long. When Vox snapped his fingers, the sound had been a crack that stopped everything. It had scarred the cranes and their wide wings, stirred up the smog. The twins were visible to the crowd, two faraway silhouettes. Are you watching me? Vox picked up the beat from seemingly nowhere, and everywhere there had been music, and the ravers had moved together like sang together, wild with elation and anticipation, and whatever was spiked into the carny drinks. They are drunk as F, maybe even drugged, maybe there's roofies. This is not a party I would let my kids go to. Like, we're gonna get to that though. Years of hiding, being small, being silent were redeemed in a blaze of light and sound unmistakable for miles around. The stars came shooting down, sliding light and warmth and happiness into her body, and it came out of her hands like Kamehameha, exploding into fountains and geometric patterns that danced along in their own way to the music. Her power level was over 9,000. Celeste and Vox were finally completely themselves, making magic and art together, away from Dad's ridiculous rules. Oh my god. Dad, stop it. I'm an adult and I like peanut butter, okay? Second 2. Falling. With the ground flying up to her, the chaos on the ground becomes clear. She recalls the moment, mere seconds before atop their carny wheel, when they realized, shit, something was freaking wrong. But they drunk and they drugged, and they're on marijuanas. How are they supposed to even know? It was amid Vox's wall of noise. They noticed ravers had fallen in clumps, trampled under swords and shields. Tourists from all corners had last shed their cloaks and had shown their true allegiances. The cheers that had shaped the beast had turned into panic screams, and Vox's song had changed it. It had become a march, like music for unifying armies and terrifying enemies. This shit is getting real. I need some water. This is just too intense. At the end of this, we're going to have our drawing. As the music mutated, the starlight moving through Celeste's hands had turned into searing drops that burned whatever it touched. Showers of pain on the ground, puddles of starlight had exploded. The fighters lunged out of the way of the spraying light. Sparks burst on one another, lighting up terrified people running towards the city like, oh my god, it's the freaking apocalypse. What? The alpacalypse, if you will. What is happening? Vox had screamed, and the sound came out in a song, another layer to the music. Celeste had tried to answer, but her tongue had instead crackled with light, popping like candy sparklers, and below them the ground under the carny wheel had become not ground, the absence of ground, the death of falling stars, just like the baby black holes she had always made to delight Vox, but big and churning and swallowing. Holy shit. She can't control her power. Vox had clapped his hands. Celeste! He screamed. Stop! The world had rumbled with Vox's sonic boom, and an explosion of starlight blasted from below. Cracks splintered underground, and the carny wheel had given way, an ear-splitting moan, tilting wildly, like this. And that's when they fell. Second 1. ... So she's falling. She's remembering all this as she's falling. Second 1. Unlike many who go unconscious with shock on the way down, Celeste is wide awake with 1 second what to live. Holy shit. And she's drunk. Now, so close to the ground, she's able to recognize something she knows. The red shapes of her father's armor? Burnt black in places, surrounded by charred, crumpled, defeated people. Arden's hand is out. That's her dad, in case you didn't know. There's a look on his face she's seen before. Only once. The night the storm guard, Catherine bitch, came to their home and fucking killed her mom. Second 0, they land. Bum, bum, bum. To be continued. That's it. That's my dramatic reading.